Good evening, everyone, and welcome to GPA Trading Services. My name is Gary R. Albrecht. I'm the founder and CEO of GPA Trading Services. I'm the mastermind and creator of the MPA PE3 software, which the MPA stands for the Market Price Anticipator software. Well, I've been a professional trader for 20 plus years. Even from the most staunch of critics, if you will, I'm considered a technical analysis expert. I'm a creator of a one-of-a-kind custom trading software. As we mentioned, I'm the founder of GPA Trading Services, was founded about 8 years ago in 2010. I've educated thousands of students over the past 10 plus years. I've conducted numerous live events, speaking engagements, platinum program. We offer one-on-one coaching and mentorships. Basically, we've seen it all and done it all in the trading world. If you haven't had a moment to peruse our website, this is GPA Trading Services, and we welcome you to visit the website. This is me in the center of the picture in front of my multiple monitors, so I trade with multiple monitors, multiple markets. Tonight we're going to discuss how to master the markets utilizing the all-encompassing, state-of-the-art MPA PE3 software. As a brief disclaimer, everyone's familiar with the disclaimer, and I'm not going to sit here and read line for line, but I would like to highlight a couple of areas. First, trading is not suitable for all people. Some markets are leveraged, and therefore it is possible to lose money deposited for a position. A person should only use funds that they can afford to lose and that fits within their overall financial plan as developed by a qualified financial planner. We have specific rules which include you should never risk more than 2% of your entire account balance on any one given trade. For those of you that trade options, we recommend you never risk more than 5% of your entire account balance on any one given options trade. And most importantly, of not only adhering to your money management rule, but is adhere to strict and proper money management. So it's key. Never risk more than 2%, because if you have a losing trade, you have many opportunities to recoup. And with this software, there's going to be far and few between true losing trades if you follow the rules. All information in this presentation is for your educational purposes only and should not be taken as investment advice, nor as a recommendation or endorsement to buy or sell any specific investment. Basically, you're going to trade at your own risk. Now, let's get to the key components. In order to master the markets, you must have an understanding of support and resistance. Bob, that's about as basic as it gets. You need to understand support and resistance. And there are a lot to support and resistance that we will cover. Also, the direction of the trend. Extremely important. Key component includes also utilizing multiple time frames. This is where we separate from all others. We are the most unique software on the market, and we utilize multiple time frames, and we've automated that scenario, and that's what we call as the key to aligning the time frames. The highest probability trades and the highest outcomes come from those trades that the time frames are aligned. Well, we go further than understanding and utilizing multiple time frames. We also go and teach how the lower time frames cycle within the larger time frames, or as we like to call it, the line of progression. This is how you master the markets in a long-term, ongoing trend where you keep utilizing as the time frames cycle back with your movement. You can scale into that position or take profits accordingly when the time frames cycle against you. Here's an example of a previous screenshot of what we mean by aligning time frames. We can see here on this chart where the red box is now illustrating the monthly on oil was in the process of topping and rolling, and the indicators were in overbought territory. The weekly was also at the same point in time at that same swing point high in overbought territory, as well as the daily. Now, this is more of a position long-term trade because it involves months, potentially, certainly weeks, if not multiple days minimum. Now, this is where the time frames align, so it's pretty easy to see that oil prices were going to drop, and we were able to take advantage of that big move. Well, here's an example of oil again and showing what we mean by following the line of progression. This is the same weekly in that drop that went lower, and this is the same daily, but I compressed the view so you could see a lot more data in here. Notice what we mean by the line of progression. As the time frames start to turn and cycle down, right, as it starts to turn and cycle down and move lower, the daily is going to follow very specific behavior. It too is going to cycle down, but once it gets to oversold and starts to depressurize, we call this the slingshot phenomenon, where it slingshots from overbought territory, right, and then it starts to slingshot over and over and over and over and over, and there's multiple times that this does this. This is what we mean by line of progression. So, Ben, when I'm ready to sell something long term and I want to be a position trader, I don't want to get in and a scalper, be in and out, or a day trader. I want to take a position and sit in my account and make money for days, weeks, or even months. Some of these will even last for years. You just keep following the cycles as the time frames cycle from overbought to oversold and back and forth. But this is what we call the slingshot phenomenon. This is only available with our software. Now, why is it important? Because we're going to show you through not only live markets, but multiple trades, etc., why you can use this information to your advantage. Notice again, this is a currency pair, the pound dollar. We're lining up, getting oversold on a monthly. We're oversold on a weekly, starting to turn up. We're oversold on the daily, turning up, and we were oversold on the 4-hour, turning up. And then you can see here what I'm illustrating in the 4-hour is that line of progression that it's expected to slingshot higher and higher on the 4-hour. So all you got to do is buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, and let it keep running. Why? Because the monthly's going up, the weekly's going up, the daily's going up, and that forces this 4-hour to exhibit this behavior. Now, I think you got an idea what we mean by this rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Yes, the 4-hour will turn over and then go back up and turn over and go back up and turn over and go back up. Well, this is the epitome of buy the dip in an uptrend. How do we know it's an uptrend? Monthly, weekly, daily, or up. How do we know the 4-hour is going to do this behavior? Because that's what it does. That's exactly it. Here's gold. Same scenario. Gold is starting to set up where, yes, it was in a downtrend and it's starting to bottom in reverse. As we could see, the monthly had started to bottom, started to reverse. It had temporarily slingshotted, but you can see the weekly is turning out, the daily is turning up, and the 4-hour soaring. So from this cycle, we were able to buy the dip. Now, as I was mentioning, you can notice this process of this cycling and following the line of progression. So what did it do for us here on gold? It allowed gold to stair-step lower as we were expecting as this was turning over, but it's oversold, so we knew it was going to stair-step lower and then do a dramatic reversal as the time frame then turned and went up. The daily started to engage up, the weekly turned up, and the monthly was already in the process of turning up, just taking a temporary pause before then going higher. So this is where this software is unique. You can sell rallies in a downtrend, buy dips in an uptrend by simply following the cycle of our indicators. Now let's go to the charts to give you an idea. What exactly do I mean by aligning time frames? Not too long ago, we talked about this trade here, the pound dollar. And we were only up maybe 100 pips at the time. And I said, based on a monthly cycle, a weekly cycle, a daily cycle, we were going to see this pair continue to stair-step higher for a matter of what? Months. Literally months, it was going to go much higher. Now we're up to 2,000 plus pips. We were up about 2,400, and we're pulling back a little bit because we're starting to depressurize, as I like to call it. But the progression of this pound odd pair is to do what? The weekly is going to turn over right here and then turn right back and slingshot up in the coming weeks. So I'm expecting a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and it's going to go up thousands of more pips. Keep an eye on the pound odd. Yes, the weekly's turning over. Yes, the daily's moving from overbought toward oversold at the moment, but that's a projected experience that we expect this to go down lower before reversing and going on higher. So this would not be the time to buy this pair long at the moment because we're expecting it to stair step a little bit lower as the time frames finish the cycle. But why do we think it's going to continue higher? Because check out the monthly. The monthly is clearly moving higher. Monthly trend momentum in PAI. This is the focal point. We use this in all of our templates. And why is that? Because with the 1-2 punch, the key was to originate a software that would work in any market condition. Okay, whether it's a crashing market, a trending market, a consolidating market, we wanted the software to work. We accomplished the task. We married a trend momentum that includes a volume indicator and a price action indicator. We married the two, and this is where this slingshot phenomenon allows us to sell rallies in a downtrend as it allows us to buy dips in an uptrend. Well, how do I know it's going to go down at this point versus reverse and go higher? You're based on the cycles and the time frames as they go from one extreme to the other. So to make this simple, all we expect the trend momentum to do is go from overbought to oversold, oversold to overbought, back and forth. And then the price action indicator is supposed to do the same thing. But there are times when it rides out in oversold territory extended periods, or it can stay in overbought periods over extended periods. Why? That's the slingshot phenomenon that allows you to take advantage of that. And we'll explain that in great depth when you're in the class. Here's the pound CAD, up over 1,100 pips. And yes, it's pulling back. We were up several hundred more, and it's part of the pullback. But notice the cycle. It's cycling down so we can buy the dips, sell the rallies if you want to scalp it down. But the bias for this pair, based on a monthly, is up. Everybody see the monthly? Clearly up. So this is going to stair step higher. I mentioned this when we were about 50 pips in, and I said this is going to go to 1,000. We reached 1,000, 1,300 plus and started to pull back. It's going to go thousands more. The projected path is way to visit way up here at the previous high. I think this monthly is going to continue to move for months in toward overbought territory, and my weekly is going to do what we expect as it cycles from oversold to overbought. It's going to turn over and do what? Slingshot higher, and this is yet another slingshot that's in the process of forming and will reverse back up once the daily finishes its down cycle. So again, this is not an ideal time to go long on this pair because it's going to go lower first, but I'm looking for it to come toward the cloud, maybe about another 100 or so pips down before it bounces and reverses. I'm waiting for this daily right here to reverse. Well, our software comes with numerous templates for convenience. Notice when I go to this little window, everything with an MPA in the front is the templates that come with our software. Whether you like simple charts with not a whole lot of indicators and data on it, or you like everything soup to nuts with everything and its brother on it. We also offer a Ichimoku cloud that's customized for this software, which I personally love Ichimoku. You can see many times it comes down toward the cloud, and why did we know it was going to bounce here? Because the indicator was oversold, turning back up across multiple time frames. My weekly was turning back up. My monthly was still up, and my daily was expected to move and then reverse back up like we're doing now, right? Very similar. And the reason it's turning over and moving all the way to oversold is simple. My weekly is turning over now. That's key. We'll teach you all of what we do by a hook and a cross, what we mean by slingshots, to be able to take these long-term running trades, and to allow trades to run for many moons, right? Days, weeks, months, even years, based on where the cycles are located. There are also much simpler templates if you prefer just a simple template with triggers. Well, simple thing is I get a trigger, I get a hook, I go. I get a trigger to go short, I get a hook, I go short. And I can do that on any market. Stocks, futures, commodity, this is what? US 500, S&P. We've been pegging the S&P motion, I mean, almost perfectly. And it's simply just following the cycles. I don't think the S&P is ready to break new highs yet. Yes, I think long term the S&P is going to go to 3,000 and above. But this is part of a multi-month correction that still has more to give. And my daily is turning up, but it's still got more to give to the downside because the weekly is still down, right? Slope, angle, separation, everything we need. And a monthly is turning over. We haven't seen the stock market pull one of these hook and cross patterns. This is the hook and the cross right there where the trend momentum crosses down, or the hook up and a cross up. We haven't seen this hook and cross down since what? The last flash crash. Everybody remember when we plummeted during the flash crash? And then previous to that, where we had a hook and a cross, it was way back here after the markets imploded, and then the Fed started buying the toxic debt and just raising and continuing to pump money into the market, so it rallied through all their different TARP, HARP, and all the different programs they came up with. All right, so why is this important? This is a new development we haven't seen in a long time. And last time when it started to do this, it wasn't quite as obvious as it is now, and it wasn't quite as overbought at the time when the crossover occurred. This is already giving you steep slope in this hook and cross pattern, and we're still way overbought. So that's telling me we have some more downside to finish. Yes, I promise you, this will, watch my cursor, this will slingshot higher in the months to come as we go on to 3,000 and above. But we know when to buy the dips simply by following the slingshots. Following the slingshots. And this is where they say, well, normally oscillating indicators is not your best option for trending market. But when you marry 1 and 2, it's the most impressive software there is to date. It's high-end, it's high-tech. This software is so high-tech, Alan, that it knows the time frame cycles. So remember, we knew that it was important to align the trend momentum and the PAI on any time frame and trade it when they're in the same direction. But it's most important to find when they're aligned on multiple time frames. Not just a 1 minute, 5 minute, 15, but a 4 hour, a daily, a weekly, a monthly. And when you set up for the big boys, bottoming and reversing or topping and reversing, you're going to get the longer, more predominant trades. Now, admittedly, we are triggering lower, the big massive trigger up here. Everybody says, will that give you an indication it's time to sell the S&P? And we're expecting further downside. Yes, I expect this will slingshot higher in the weeks and probably months to come, and it will go to 3,000 and above. But this is part of the templates. You can have simple templates with less on it. You can have templates with more on it, with built-in support and resistance. But the caveat is still the 1 and 2 punch, the trend momentum and the PAI. Everything is based on the cycles. It's based on the trend momentum and the PAI, and everything we use ties into that. So we went on from the best software and started to increase the high-tech components and aspects. So the key was we knew we had something special because, again, this works in all markets. It doesn't matter if you're trading gold, silver, stocks, futures, commodities, ETFs, bonds. I don't care what you're trading. The cycles always will keep you in the right direction. But the key was to automate this, to make it even easier. Could we automate the time frames when they align automatically so that it was easier? That's where the triggers come in. That's where the hook and cross pattern comes in. When it hooks up, and this is on a daily, how do I know? It's a D1, this little indicator right here tells you what your market we're on, in this case gold, and we have the daily, the current price, and this tells you how many minutes and seconds are left in the current candle and whether we're up or down based on green or red. So we're up a little bit on the day for gold with no surprises it pulled back, but gold is not ready to break out just yet. Why? Same reasons. My monthly is starting to turn over. So we expect gold's going to give us another little down move to make another higher low, higher high in the months to come, but we need some more downside. Well, the weekly started to turn up, right? And we expect this is going to fail and turn over and head down further. So I'm expecting gold to make a run before we start breaking new highs to make a move back towards 1307/1300 area. Right around our big support zone right there. You can see my big massive support right there, the blue line. I'm expecting this to work its way down probably another couple of weeks. This will turn over, head lower. My monthly is going to continue to depressurize, and then eventually the monthly is going to turn over to slingshot higher, but we need time for those cycles to finish and then start a new up cycle. All right, so it doesn't matter what you're looking at. Stocks, Amgen, you can use a simple chart with the trend momentum PAI and a hook. I get a hook and a cross pattern, you can scalp that. I told our students we knew Amgen was going to go much lower because the monthly's turning over and a weekly's turning over and still headed lower, and the daily was moving from overbought toward oversold. As it pulled back, I said, look, you can scalp this, but again, this is going to be scalpable, and it's likely to go up a little bit more, but I'm not looking for a new breakout just yet, because I think that monthly has more to the downside and the weekly's got a little bit more before this daily has enough power to push all the way to overbought, right? So it doesn't matter the market. Oil's another one. You see this weekly that's turning and engaging up? It's turning and it's going to fail. I said that as this was rallying. I said, you can buy this, but look for it to go back near the high and look for it to turn back around, because this will end up turning over. I call that painting the Picasso of the software. Why do I think it's going to go lower? Well, my monthly is overbought, starting to turn. Not the biggest hook and cross yet, but it's starting to turn. And my weekly is overbought, had started to depressurize and took a temporary hiatus where it's going sideways, but the bias is it's going to flip over. And should we, Ben, get this to hook down right there? What do I mean by that? Where you can see here, this hooked up and then it hooked down. It temporarily hooked up here and then hooked down. It's going to do that again. It's in the process of doing it, but it's going to hook down. Why do I think to sell the rally in a downtrend? Because the daily trend momentum and PAI are down. And it just recently engaged up and failed. This is what I mean by hook and then hook back down. That's telling me price is going to go back toward this previous low and make a new low. It's just going to take time. Not every second of every day is oil going to decline, but you need to trade the cycle. So why is the 4 hour starting to depressurize? It's supposed to keep slingshotting because the daily is down. Everybody clear? Simple. How do I know the 4 hour is going to slingshot lower once it makes the cycle down? Because the daily stays down. As long as it stays in a downward direction, you keep selling 4 hour slingshot over and over and over and over. So look for Black Gold, Texas Tea, the Beverly Hillbillies to continue in a downward direction. Now, again, we started talking about automating. That's the hook and cross pattern. It wouldn't hook unless the lower time frames are bottoming and reversing. And we can go through this, and I can draw a line here and say, well, the 4 hour turned and hooked up. Why did it do that? You can go to the 1 hour and see it's reversing. You can go to the 30 minutes, see it's reversing. You can go every time the 4 hour turns back up, you see the 1 hour bottoming and reversing, bottoming and reversing, bottoming and reversing. All right? So what's expected? This is expected to depressurize, slingshot lower, depressurize, slingshot lower. Why lower now? Simple. I just look to the right and say, okay, the reason it's going to go lower is my daily is telling me it's going to go lower. And as the daily keeps going lower, that weekly is going to turn and hook out and really put the pressure for us to revisit $58 and below. But it's going to chop around up and down. And you ever ask yourself during this chopping methods, Alan, Bob, you ever ask yourself, I don't care how strong the trend, you're always going to stair step. Price always stair steps, whether it's in a trend up or a trend down. It never moves in one direction. Why? Because the time frames always cycle. The 4 hour is important. It's the gatekeeper between the lower and the higher. And once the 4 hours in a coordination with the lower, that's the time to go short or go long. We call that a buy cycle or sell cycle. But it's just as important to know whether I'm buying into a 4 hour cycle up. When a daily's up, that means it's going to go that much faster and continue much longer, versus when the daily is headed down and I'm trying to buy a 4 hour cycle up. That's what these 4 hour slingshots are, right? My daily is down, my 4 hour is up, and I tell everybody in class, you can scalp this. Look for it to go back toward the cloud, toward this line, and then reverse out of there. That's exactly what it did. It went up, reversed out of there, and we're telling you this not after the fact, but before it happens. You got to join our class and see what it's all about. It will literally blow your mind. So we've had an opportunity to go through several pairs. Whether you just like a chart with nothing on it, or you like more bells and whistles with the Ichimoku cloud, or you like it with a little bit more in a trade management system that manages your trade. We're going to get into that in a moment as a component. We have multiple templates for your convenience, and it's so easy to switch in between. All I got to do is highlight the one I want, click it, and it's done. So again, back to the automating this process. The hook and cross pattern has been designed for this software. It also is designed when we're oversold to give us a trigger, and when it's overbought to give us a trigger to go down. If I have a trigger on the chart like I showed you on these other ones. We have triggers if you prefer, or you can do as without. Either way. But if you use them, I use them with the hook and cross pattern. When I'm oversold, it won't give you a trigger until you're oversold. That's by design. So it maxes out, and then it gives you a trigger to go long. Great. All I need to see is a trigger and a hook pattern where this starts to hook up. I'm in. And I don't care what it is. Stocks, futures, commodities, anything. It's just that simple. And yes, you'll notice Amgen just gave us a new trigger to go back up, but it's not going to be one to break new highs. I think it's going to make a lower high and a lower low. And again, all I'm doing is following the cycles, weekly down. So I'm not expecting the daily to what? Do much more than rally to a lower high and then a lower low. This hook and cross pattern also has to do with Fibonacci's. It's like a magnet for Fibonacci's, and we give you all that information in class. And just an example of that, whenever you get a hook and cross pattern, it's going to make about 100% of the time, just about 100% of the time, a Fibonacci sweet spot retracement. So yes, Amgen didn't quite reach it, but it's not over yet, but we expect it's going to go to the sweet spot before it reverses. Well, all I'm waiting for is the 4-hour to turn over and the daily to engage down, then we can sell this back down. That's the projected path. But it gives you targets. We were down here at 163. Anybody trade stocks? Trade a high-priced item like Amgen? 163, can you make money on a $10 move to go from 163 to 173? Is that possible to make money on a $10 move? Sure it is, especially with options. You don't have to buy expensive stocks. Buy 1,000 shares at 172,000. Well, that's expensive. Well, if you use options, you can get in for a lower price, but you still get the same principle that it's expected to go up, but it's expected to make a lower high and a lower low, as this will turn over. Watch what Amgen does in the coming days. It's going to start to fizzle up here, and it's going to turn back down because the weekly's still down. All right? So no matter what your preference is, we have you covered. Now, let's look at some other components of automation. If you can get the time frames aligned, wouldn't it be nice to have a trade management system that would allow us to trade these up or down, or tell it to sell rallies in a downtrend, or buy dips in an uptrend based on the cycles? It's completely customizable. So inside of our trade management system, we have all of the entry criteria, whether you want to do a position trigger, scalper trigger, any type of trigger, whether I want to buy slingshots or sell slingshots, whether I want to buy triggers or sell triggers. And I tell it true or false what I want it to do. Customizable to every type of trader, right? So that would allow me, when I'm in a long-term trend, to tell the trade management system, hey, keep buying slingshots higher as this continues to rally. And that's what you can do. Or basically tell it to sell the rally in a downtrend and ignore every time it goes up. The software would ignore it, and then when it turns back over, it would scale in or continue to let your winning trade run. But one thing you'll see that is commonplace with our service, we make huge trades. Huge trades. So how do we get the huge trades? We have a slice of heaven finder. This is one of the automations, Alan. This is ideal. What does it do for me? It allows me to customize my trading preference, whether I'm a short-term trader, long-term trader, and it allows me to customize through the same expert advisor to say, I want to trade off a 4-hour. Well, I can say I want to trade off the daily, the weekly, the monthly, or I want to trade on the lower time frames. Either way. But that's why you can trade these down or up, 15-minute, 30, etc., depending on your trading style. What does this do for us? This will scan every symbol, every market to find out what is setting up. So when you go back to these trades and you say, well, Gary, man, how did you come across this pound odd trade? How did you know not to miss this several thousand pip trade that's up over 2,000, is going to go thousands more before it's done? How did I know?
And this is utilizing the trade management system.
And we utilize the trade management system to enter the trade, and it's been managing the trade for months, and it can take profits along the way. We can tell it to do anything we want to do. All right? So we knew this was setting up because that scanner is showing the monthly was oversold, the weekly was oversold, and setting up for a big up move. That's how you get a 2,000 pip move. So we do have scanners. We have a couple of different ones, and the difference is the Slice of Heaven scanner is the one that scans all markets, whatever's in your market watch, stocks, futures, commodities, ETFs, bonds, you name it, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of symbols. It'll scan through everyone in there. Well, it's so customizable. What if I'm just a stock trader? I'm not interested in Forex, or I'm not interested in indices. All I want to do is trade stocks. Well, you can customize it to show in the symbol box only stocks. And it's a click of a button, and you can only do stock, and then it'll scan everything that's stock related and overlook the commodities, futures, bonds, etc. So this is important. Why do I want to trade without the MPAPA3 software? I don't know why you would ever want to do that. Why would I want to trade with it is just the abundance of reasons. And this is one of them, this scanner. What has this scanner done for us? I'm going to show you some trading results, and I'll show you what this scanner's done for our students. Massive gains by simply setting the time frame. The person that used it was on a monthly, weekly, and daily. So we had the big time frame setting up like the pound odd, the pound CAD, and that made thousands of pips. It does it every time. It's amazing. So what else do we have in the software? Well, we have this automated trade management system. It is twofold. Everyone understand about instant order, where you place an instant order and you just want to get in. I want to buy, I want to sell, and that's an instant order. It's market order, boom, you're in there. Well, this system can set up where I have an instant order where I can just jump in the trade. I think it's going up, I jump in, go long. And it pops in my stop loss, my take profit, it does everything for me. Well, this system is so unique, it's aware of where the surroundings are, meaning when a daily is starting to bottom and reverse, it's aware that the 4 hours oversold, the 30, the 1 hour, etc., and they're turning up. That's why you get the hook pattern. You get those little triggers we showed you on a previous template. And I can tell this, as I did here, say, look, buy the trigger long on this pair because it's setting up for a big move. Or once it pulls back, tell it to buy the slingshot higher, which it's done several times on a weekly. It's slingshotted higher numerous times on a daily. Higher, 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 higher. Big pullback. Higher, 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 higher. And about to do it again. Once we go a little bit more, it's going to reverse and go higher. But I can tell this to do it instant, or I can use the pending order. Everybody know what a pending order is? I can set the pending order one and say, okay, if you come and touch this purple line, I want you to enter long. Or if you break the support zone and go below it, I want you to go short. That's the pending order that's available. So you can set it either way, whether it's going to break a support zone and go short, or it's going to reach a support zone and bounce and go long. You dictate it through our trade management system. Okay? And it gives you the alignment of the time frames automatically. It is so cool, Andrew, that we even give you a little mini scanner here that tells you what slingshots are forming on what time frames. What is a slingshot? When this indicator starts to red and blue races off from green, or races above for green for slingshot down. It tells you when this is forming a slingshot potentially lower, and this is forming a potential slingshot back up. That means it's turning over, getting ready to potentially engage up. Well, when it engages, what's it going to tell me? It's going to become bolded. It becomes bright bolded red, or if it's truly engaging, it becomes bright green or dark green. So these are in the process of forming. It's so smart it knows whether it's a single slingshot or a double. DSS is both lines are racing off, SS or this SS, a single line is racing off. It's so aware of its surroundings. It's incredible. All right. So what else do we have? We're just beginning. Again, we have a different type of scanner. This is called the MPA Premium Edition 3 scanner. What does this one do for me? This baby, Alan, is the la creme de la creme. It is la creme de la creme from way back. Why? It gives you everything you need to know. The direction of every time frame, 1, 5, 15, 30, 4-hour, daily, weekly, monthly. It allows you to tell you instantly from a glance, these little arrows are the trend momentum. Is the trend momentum headed down? Is it headed up? Are we getting a trigger short? Are we getting a trigger long? Do we get position triggers, the bigger trigger, or are we getting a smaller trigger? Is it, the whole scenario, red, pink, green, all these mean something. And it tells me instantly, I can see what direction the trend is based on the time frame and based on a particular symbol. So I just put a little assortment, a few currencies in here. We got some indices, the NASDAQ, Tesla, gold, silver, S&P. You can customize this to any symbol you want. Right? You can customize it to any symbol you want, and it'll give you everything you need to know at a glance. Notice I'm in an open sell pattern right now on the euro dollar. It tells me I'm in a trade. The rest say no trade. I don't have any running in this platform, but I do have a small trade running on the euro dollar I just entered, and we're up 49.50 pips. Well, how did I know to sell it? Because the time frame cycled. It hooked and I sold it, and it started to go down on the lower time frame. Well, I'm expecting this small trade as a scale in, right? It's down a few hundred pips since the high, and it's going to go further down as we stair step lower and the daily finishes the cycle. Why do I know it's going to go lower? Check out the weekly. The weekly is turning over, heading lower. Why do I know it's going to go lower? Check out the monthly. It's starting to hook. So yes, the euro is projected not just to drop every day, every minute of every second and continue lower. It's going to stair step its way lower. But I know when I could expect price to go against me, when the lower time frames cycle up. And then they should turn back and slingshot lower, lower, lower as the time frames realign and move in the direction of my what? Monthly, my weekly, and my daily. That's simple. And then you got this automated system where it'll take profits for you, it'll close trades, open trade, do anything you want. Set it in advance to where it places the trade when a slingshot engages. It'll sit there for weeks until it slingshots up, it won't enter it. Or it'll sit there for days, depending on what time frame you're on. This trade management system is so smart, it knows when you set it on a daily versus a 4-hour versus a 1 minute or whatever. It knows. And it scalps. You can scalp to your heart's delight. But everything we teach in class average about 6 to 8 hours a week of live trading. 6 to 8 hours a week. And during that period, I'm telling you exactly when to get in, when to get out, what to look for. And if you're a long-term trader, then accept this little pullback, either scalp it down and buy the dip, or what it's supposed to do. It's been in a downtrend for weeks and it's still got more to go. It might even be a top and reversal on the euro, and we never break 25.55. But it's too early to call that, isn't it? My monthly's starting to turn. I don't have a cross yet, but I do have a hook. And what can happen? You see over here? The monthly can turn and hook like that, then it could slingshot back up. So you watch the lower time frames as they exhibit the right behavior and they keep pushing lower, then this will never turn back up. They have to reverse and go all the way up in order for this to turn up. That's what it did over here. But that's why we're selling rallies right now in the euro. That may change. Well, the same thing. We traded the euro up thousands of pips from the 103 bottom all the way to the 25.55 high. Why? Because it reversed. And I was telling students for months and months and months and months, the euro's going higher, ladies and gentlemen. But if you look at the big picture, someone would say, hey, this is definitely an uptrend. This is a long-term uptrend looking at this. If they're looking at this little window, sure, that looks like a nice uptrend. But from the big picture, we've been in over a decade-long downtrend. Over a decade. The last time we were at this previous high over here was in 2008, 2007, 2008 range. So here it is, 2018. So Ben, what's going to happen? I guarantee we're going to make a lower high, whether we end up going a little bit higher before it's over with, and then reverse, we're going to end up with a lower high and a lower low. Why? This monthly is going to turn over, whether it slingshots up once or twice, it's still going to end up turning over, going all the way to oversold, and these trend momentums right here are going to go all the way to oversold. And when it does, I'm going to run to the bank with thousands of pips down. And anybody understand what the euro dollar does if you trade currencies? This is going to be a carry trade. Euro is at a negative interest rate. The US dollar is at a positive interest rate. And Barry, the Fed's raising rates. The higher the differential, the more interest payments you're going to make. So you could be in this trade literally for years, make thousands of pips, and include a daily deposit of interest payment. Well, it depends if I'm trading standard lots, micro lots, and mini lots. Mini lots, if you're trading just a couple of those, it'll be a few cents a day, but that adds up. If it's standard lots, then it's upwards of, could be hundreds of dollars a month. Or if you're trading so many standard lots, it could be hundreds of dollars a day in just interest. Plus the thousands of pips down you're going to make. But watch the euro. It's in a pullback. I'm not guaranteeing it won't slingshot back up, but we teach you that there's no way that monthly is going to turn up without the weekly reversing up. And if the weekly's not reversing up, then there's no way the monthly is going to reverse. And the weekly can't reverse unless the daily reverses, and the daily's not ready to reverse. So what's the strategy? It's pretty simple. You keep selling 4-hour slingshot over and over and over. And yes, again, we're going to get another 4-hour slingshot down. It will go up, it's going to depressurize, and then it's going to slingshot lower. Well, what if I'm in this trade and I want to set a brand new trade? I can tell it right here to go and say, don't buy anything. I want it to run. I don't care if it goes 5 pips or 100 pips more. Don't care. I want to sell it. So I can tell it to either A, when it gets to overbought territory and triggers lower, sell it. Or B, when it slingshots lower, like it's supposed to do, sell it then. And guess what? It'll stay until it turns and engages. Then it'll sell it for you automatically. Or you can do the instant order and say, okay, when it's turning, I want to sell. And we tell you exactly when that should be. And it's all about the cycles, right? The 4 hours connected to the 1 hour. Why? When does the 4 hour go up? The 1 hour's reversing going higher, right? 1 hour's reversing going higher. When does the 4 hour engage? Here, the multiple times it engaged. These 3 different times when it engaged. It's when the 1 hour goes from overbought to oversold, overbought to oversold, overbought to oversold. And it's going to do it again. All right? Russell, doesn't matter again. I said this would go higher. I don't think it's going to make a new high yet. Onus on yet. And this baby right here is going to slingshot over. When my 4 hour finishes its cycle, it's just starting. Is this the beginning, or is the 4 hour going to be forced to go a little bit more? We say sell the hook, buy the slingshot if the daily doesn't turn. But all that will be covered in class. All right, so what else do we have? We got the trade management system. Again, is so unique that it knows the difference in the cycling time frames, where they are. It knows where support and resistance is, whether you have it on the chart or not. It has it built in. I don't know if you noticed that a moment ago when we went to the scanner. This scanner here, it has your support and resistance levels. Where's price? Where's support? Where's resistance? Listed right there for you, automatically. Well, what about on the chart? That matters, depends on what you're interested in, but you can see the different types of support levels and resistance levels based on the type of template I use, right? We can have the built-in support show, or we can not show, but it's still there. And the reason I like to show it, look at this. It goes right to our level and then turns into hooks. This was an easy buy. We have a buyout on the dollar yen. Why is the yen going to go higher? Anybody want to tell me? Weekly's turning up. Daily is moving from oversold to overbought. Pretty simple. And then the weekly's turning up. To continue to go higher into our sweet spot location, right? Remember what we said? you get a hook and a cross, it's going to do at least a sweet spot, if not more. We still got some more upside to get to this 10, what is that, 107.94, about another 80, 90 pips. It could go higher, but it's at least going to make that. Simply the cycle. And it comes with support and resistance, comes with everything automatically designed and automated for your pleasure. Well, let's just show you some true trading results other than the few live trades I had today. Here's gold, right? We talk about gold. We were talking about how gold's going to go lower first before higher. Here's where we came in and made a $126 move higher on gold. And you see what that extrapolates to. Gold, $25,000 trade. Whether you trade with small lots or large lots, depends on your account, that's okay. But it's still the process of aligning the time frames. Here's gold to the downside. It works in both directions. We're not talking small moves, ladies and gentlemen. When you use that slice of heaven finder and it's setting up with the higher time frames either topping and rolling or bottoming and reversing, that's when you go short for long periods or go long for long periods. This was a $150 move lower. Another $30,000 trade there. This is what I was talking about. Here's one of our students that used the slice of heaven finder. Just as a reminder, what is the slice of heaven finder? It's this guy right here. All I got to do is tell it to set up with the monthly, weekly, daily, or higher time frames or lower time frames if I want to scalp. And it tells you where the cycles are located and what you can look forward to as a bounce or a sell based on the lower time frames, or the higher when it starts to trigger or bottom and reverse or slingshot. It gives you all that information. See it? So why is that important? Because he was able to use and he set up all of these currency pairs. Several of the odd pairs, euro pairs, pound pairs, you can see it on this chart. And he set up all of these and he started and said, Gary, I used the slice of heaven finder and look, man, I'm up 8,600 pips. He was excited. And we reviewed it and I said, don't get too excited. It's going to double. You're going to double that. Easy. Why? Because the monthly, weekly, and daily were involved. So he sent this letter late. He said, my TradeStation account, I use this, and now I'm up 18,311 pips because of the slice of heaven finder and that it was still giving me the big, signal to keep going to let it complete before I then took my profit. So aren't you glad, Andrew, you had something to tell you? Hey, 8,000 pips is honorable. There are so many traders out there that never made 8,000 pips in their life. To think that that would be a disappointment to close it at 8,000. It would have been knowing you could get 18, wouldn't it? All you got to do is follow the cycles. And here it is in his TradeStation account showing these trades. He placed them based on our signal. And he placed the corresponding trades in his TradeStation account, and there you go, 18,311 pips. Again, gold, here's the pound odd. We just showed you we're up 2,000 pips. Here's where we were 778 pips. That's nothing to sneeze at. Look at these winning trades. They're constantly winning to over 171,000. Well, it's not about that. It's about being on the right side of the trade. Well, notice the 778 pips. I don't know if you can read that at home, but that's why I put this here to blow it up for you. 778 pips. Well, guess what? We didn't close the trade at 700 pips. Been a nice trade, been worth some money, but we let it run and it went to 1,274 pips. Same trade, still the pound odd. We didn't close it then because we knew it still was going to go. It went to 2,770 pips, right? Let me get that for you. 2270. Well, that still wasn't finished based on the higher time frame cycle, still having more to go, and it ran on to 3,627 pips. That's impressive, right? Simply following the line of progression as the time frames, higher time frames are cycling down. I just keep selling rallies in a downtrend, and this is just one trade that continued to run. This doesn't take into account every time I scaled in. But it's just to show you this system is easy to use, easy to follow, and it's automated if you don't want to trade and manually be involved. I like the technical analysis, and I love the review myself, so I could set it to where it trades for itself, and I do. But I prefer to trade with it and tell it when to enter and exit, etc. Because I love the technical analysis. Well, here's more. Pound CAD. Remember, we're up over 1,000 pips on that one. It's going to go several thousand more. 3,073 pips. Pound yen. 3,215 pips. And this goes on and on. Well, Alan, you should be interested by now. So, well, this looks pretty good. I mean, you're showing consistent result. This is the key. You want to be consistently profitable, and you want to change the scenario by simply making high probability, low risk, high reward trade. That is the epitome of aligning time frame. And we teach you everything that this means and when to expect this behavior based on the higher time frame cycle. Well, this is another one of our breakout pending order. I used this during the London session to trade currencies. Andrew, why the London set? Because London tends to move price either up or down, and it reverses a lot of times in the London session. But this system allows you to just simply set the software, and it'll put in a pending order, buy if it breaks the top or sell if it breaks the bottom. I can put what we call a bracket order. And I can say, okay, if it goes above, I want to go long, or if it goes down, I want to go short. Well, we shorted this. Why? Because we shorted over here as we were in the trade, and we moved our stop loss down deeper and deeper into profit. It ran the 272 pips from a simple breakout that started during London, and I let it run for a few. Each time, this is a London session, a London session, a London session, a London session. So 272 pips on a breakout. Well, guess what else this thing will do? What if my time frame, this is on a 1 hour. What if my 4 hour is up? My daily is up. Well, I can tell it, even though my 1 hour wants to go lower first, if a 4 hour daily and weekly may be up, then I can tell this system, okay, run the bracket order, but do not go short if we break a low. Only go long if it breaks the high. Andrew, why is that important? Because the 1 hour, in this case, this example I'm showing here is not the case because the time frames were down and this time frame kept slingshotting lower and lower and lower, right? That's what this scenario is. So we sold it and it said, we don't want to buy if it breaks, we want to sell it if it breaks the bottom. And that's your option, you could tell it. Well, what if it's been in a trending market and it's 50-50? Well, I can set it go long if it breaks the high or go short if it breaks the low. If it's in a trending market based on the time frame cycles, I can tell it only to sell the low and ignore if it breaks the above, or only buy it if it breaks the top and ignore the bottom, right? You have complete control and it's 100% customizable. Well, 272 pips isn't the greatest thing ever. No, but it's the beginning of something, and a lot of traders wish they made 200 and something pips. Well, this system will bring it to you automatically. Now, what does this trader program include? It includes the software and our live class. All you got to do is follow along in class, and you'll pay for your subscription 100-fold. If you're in there trading outside of class, what we just review in class, then there's limitless, literally unlimited number of opportunities that will come to pass. All right, so what is in the market scanner? We just reviewed that, right? That's this guy right here. I love visual aids. This is the market scanner here, all right? Market scanner. So this is one part of the software you're going to receive by subscribing. Number two, one component, the Slice of Heaven Finder. I don't have time to go through all of these, but I can do a quick show and tell. This is the Slice of Heaven Finder. This is the one that you set the time frame to cycle, and then it tells me when the time frames are aligning. It finds, if I set this to a monthly, it might schedule for a month or two and show nothing because the monthlies aren't oversold or they're not overbought. But it sets it up at its optimal point. All right, optimal point, it gives you the triggers and the setups. So that's what that scanner is. We also have the slingshot trade triggers. Those I did show to you. They're part of this scenario, and I have it on this template where you get the trigger along with the PAI hook and cross. That's important because it gives you a highest probability of this is going to go what? To at least the sweet spot. So why do I use Fibos? Because when you get a hook and cross pattern, it equals the Fibonacci retracement. It could continue to go higher if it continues to run, but at least that. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Barry, the only way it never reaches its destiny, which majority of times it will, but the only way it never reaches its destiny if it slingshots back down against you. And you'll see that coming. You'll see it in your little trade management console. You'll see it all over the place, knowing that this is ready to turn and hook, and you start to see it as it's rallying, and it might not reach your destination. So the only way you don't reach a Fibbo sweet spot retracement with a hook and cross pattern is for that time frame to slingshot against you. That's why 80, 90 or more percent of the time it will reach the sweet spot. All right, that is the slingshot trade triggers. And it's part of the same scenario. So why is the slingshot so interesting and this hook pattern so interesting? This is where the software is automatically aligned. Anytime it hooks on a daily, that means my 4 hour is bottoming and reversing. I can go to the 4 hour and I can show you it's bottoming and reversing. But I know automatically when this daily gives us that slight little hook, it did a few days ago, we knew this was going to go higher, and I told everyone buy and look for your target up here around 174, sorry, 174. And it's still got a little bit more upside before it slingshots lower. Yeah, we're not prophets. You hear everyone talk about my prediction, I predict that, this is prediction. We anticipate. We use the market price anticipator software, and we anticipate. And this is part of that scenario. We anticipate this was going to move long before it hooked. I was telling everyone on Amgen it was going lower. As soon as the daily, when it's about to reverse, go ahead and buy it, because it's going to go up to the sweet spot location.
Larry says you can't guarantee, so we
right, we don't guarantee, right? There's no guarantee. I just, that's a, well, you got to know me. There's this comedian called Justin Wilson. He was a comedian and a chef. And he used to say that when he was cooking. I guarantee, he was a Cajun. I guarantee this is the best food you ever had. I guarantee. So I use that in my analogy, but not that we're guaranteeing that we get a hook and a cross pattern. It is a guarantee, more or less, but I can't guarantee it's going to go exactly to 74.48. If it turns and slingshots lower, it won't make it. If it stays up, it's going to not only go there, it's going to go higher. But you'll be amazed at how you anticipate market conditions in advance. All right, let's keep going. We're just getting started. We have the trade management system. Everybody knows what that is, right? That's this trade management system here on the, let's go to this one that's running. This is the trade management system. When you're long, the text is green. When you're short, the text is red, like I showed you on that Euro trade. It's color-coded. Everything about it is easy to understand, easy to set. All you got to do is click and drag to arm it, and then say click and drag to buy or click and drag to close, and it closes instantaneous. As soon as the tick data goes through, boom, it'll close it, or it'll take profits. See the stop loss? It's all on-screen programming. My stop loss is way down here. Why do you have stop loss so down? You think it's going to go that far down? No, it's just for illustration purpose. So I can bring this up and lock it in way up there. Well, what just happened? It's allowing this process to cycle, and it's waiting for the tick data to finish before it accepts it. But it is on-screen program where I can move my stop loss, I can move my take profit, I can do anything I want with it. Right? Anything I want with it. And that's the reason why it's on-screen programming, to allow you to trade off the screen, on the screen, or from the scanner, and just tell the system to enter it. Okay? Let's continue. We have a Platinum Asia scalping system. So for you scalpers, I don't have time to review these, but there are a couple of different scalping systems that will literally shock you. It's the same principle, the cycling time frames, but there are indicators on that I tell you when to buy it, when to sell it, when to hook, the cross, the same thing we discussed, and teach you every day. It fits in every component. There is a breakout trade system I showed you on that winning trade during London session, a breakout, or you can use the pending order for a bracket trade like we showed you, where if you think, well, it's been oscillating and it's been sandwiched between the support and resistance, where I feel good. If it breaks the high, I want to go long. If it breaks the short. Or a pending system that allows you to say, well, if it ever comes down to the cloud or it ever reaches up at a certain number, then I want to sell it or I want to buy it. All that's in this breakout trade system. And then there's the bracket trade system. Again, that's where you bracket it and say, if you go high or go low, I'm going long or going short. Or you can tell it only to go short or only to go long. Incredible. Now, let's kind of summarize the 10 top reasons for the MPAP3 software. Whether you put it on your chart or not, it's automatically calculating support and resistance levels. It automatically identifies the trend of each time frame. Now that is awesome. To be able to tell you what direction the trend is on each time frame. Not only did we accomplish that, but remember our scanner? It's telling me the direction of each trend momentum. The lower time frames are starting to top and roll. We got some on the higher time frames down. Look at the dollar yen. We're getting a pullback on the dollar yen, but the higher time frames are up. The monthly's still slightly down, but this is triggering higher, this is higher, and this is telling me my 4 hours almost finished the down cycle, and it's about to turn and go back up. Notice it's on an angle versus being straight up and down. Isn't that awesome? So it automatically tells me where my direction of my trend momentum is located, where triggers are firing, where slingshots are forming and or engaging. All of that is here. Even tells you when you're in a trade, whether you're up, down, open, closed, to remind you, oh, I forgot about that trade. It'll remind you that you're in a trade. How cool is that? Number 2, as the trend of each time. Number 3, automatically monitors and tracks time frame cycles. Remember what I said, the difference in those triggers? Well, the reason they're different color and different sizes is based on what time frames are aligned. Whether the lower and the higher, or just the lower, or just that current time frame is aligned. That's what that is. It provides consistent entries, exits, and take profit levels. This system is so smart. It is incredibly smart. That, John, ready for this? That it gives you, well, let me show it on this chart here where you can actually see them. It gives you profit triggers. As you're starting to rally, it'll start firing some take profit triggers along the way. That's just giving me an insight as it's moving lower at take profits. We're about to start to turn. Take profits again. We're about to turn again, right? And then eventually go back long because the trigger says we're bottoming and reversing and it's time to go back long. But these, even if I'm at my trade station, I say, well, my wife wants to leave. And I'm so close to getting my last take profit. Man, I want to get that, but I also don't want to close it early. Well, I can tell the system to automatically take a profit when the trigger fires. We'll call that take profit triggers. It's incredible. So, it's based on trade triggers, slingshots, and profit triggers. Again, just in review, the trade management system, you can set it in advance to where you customize the entry. What was that? That's where you tell it to buy a slingshot, sell a slingshot, buy a trigger, sell a trigger, whatever you want it to do. Or you can automatically manage your trade from start, entry to finish, entry to exit. That is where I do the instantaneous trade and say, well, everything's aligned, I want to go long. And then I could set my take profit levels accordingly, or take profit triggers when they fire, or just let it go until it either turns around and pips me out because my stop loss is moved automatically into profit, or it continues to run and take profit 2, 3 until the trade is over. It fits any trading style. What's so unique, again, and it's unlike anything, it works on every time frame, it works on every symbol, every financial market, and it doesn't matter if I train you on something that's ongoing on the euro dollar, it'll be the exact same thing on Amgen, or on bond prices, or anything else, any symbol. So it's made for scalpers, day traders, investment traders, long-term, depends what you want, investment traders, you name it. Simply by aligning the higher time frames, the longer you want to be in it, and the lower time frames just for scalping. Dual scanners, we said, look, this is the main reason right there. You don't want to miss that next big trade. I don't miss big trades. Why? Because I got my scanners running 24/7, and I'm watching for the big scans to come up and give me information to say, okay, it's time to enter these big trades. But I review these in class, and I get everyone to enter those trades based on that. It works on 800 plus symbols, including stocks, Forex, futures, ETFs, commodities. I mean, you name it. It's in here. It's like Prego. What if you want to trade Ethereum? You want to trade Bitcoin? It's in here. What if you want to trade 30-year Treasury bonds? It's in here. Notice the hook and cross pattern. I'm going to show it to you again. Well, last time we oversold was down here. Swing point low to swing point high. We're going to get a Fibonacci sweet spot retracement because we got a hook and a cross. Where did it go? Down, 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 down. What I love about Ichimoku is it bounces off of these levels, the bottom of the cloud, the lines, etc. We tell you all this. But yes, I suspect we're going to eventually do what on the monthly? The monthly starting to depressurize, and we're going to end up depressurizing, slingshot, depressurize, slingshot. Here's your long-term target on 30-year bonds. Anybody understand bonds? The higher the Fed keeps raising rates, the lower bonds are going to go on this chart. So they keep raising rates like they projected. This is going to continue to go lower. My long-term target is 126. Basically about 20 points, 125, 126 level. About 20 points from where we currently are. Well, it's not going to just go straight down 20 points. Anybody trade bond futures? You could trade one lot or one contract, risk $56, a couple of ticks, and then let it run for a full point and make over 1,000. Risk 56 to make 1,000? That's a good deal. Well, when you line up the time frames, it's a no-brainer. But yes, mark that down. This is going to take months to get down here. But what's going to happen? You could have been in the class months ago when this thing started to rally, and I told them exactly where it was going to rally to and then where it was going to turn. And I stated in advance, I say, you see this going up? Yeah, we're going to go higher for a few more months, but it's going to turn over in the coming months from a lower high, and then it's going to go on and make a lower low. It did exactly that. And guys, Barry, Bob, when I was talking about this, this thing was up. And I went and said, watch this. It's going to turn over in the coming months, and it's going to head back down all of these points and break the low and make a new low. Well, notice the Fibonacci. Not only did we do a Fibonacci retracement to the sweet spot on this time frame on a weekly up, but it's now doing the Fibonacci retracement down on the daily from the swing point high to the Fibbo. It's like magic. And on this system, we tell you how to use a formula that'll tell you 38.2, and what is that? It's 145.16. And what's my 50? It's 144.58. So there's a formula that allows that to tell you exactly what price. So I know in advance when I sell it what my first target is, what my second target, my third target. All right. So continuing. Again, over 800 symbols, including commodities, stocks, futures, bonds, you name it. Within the market watch. And it consistently delivers low risk, high reward, high probability trade. Again, all that has to do with the cycling time frames. And you buy from support, you sell from resistance, and you use the hook and cross pattern or the triggers and hooks, and you're good to go. That's simple. And I only have a couple of rules. I say it every day before class. Don't trade with money you cannot afford to lose. Don't trade until the foreman and workforce are aligned. That's the 4 hour, 1 hour, 30, and 15. And we show you exactly how to accomplish that. And then never risk more than 2% in your entire account balance on one trade. So you follow those 3 little rules and you will be successful.
We hope and anticipate you will be.
Now, here's the why you're here today. For 10D webinar special, if you go to our website and you check out our Master Trader program, again, that includes the software plus live trading classes where we trade live every 3 days a week, about 6 to 8 hours per week. You would go to the website for $4,997 for a year, which if you do any research out there in other firms and programs, they want to charge you that much for software or more. And they want to charge you that much for classes. Well, this would be both of those for 12 months, but you're not going to pay $49.97. In the past, we've offered a special at $35.64. Well, if you do the math for 12 months, that's roughly $297 a month times 12 comes to 3564. Well, that's for software and classes. Now let me tell you, there are softwares out there that's way more than $297, and there's classes more than $297. Well, you're getting both of those for $297, but we're not going to offer the special now. We have something even more appealing. Today's special is we're going to charge you $2,497 for 12 months for both the software and the class. Now that puts us what? About $200 a month, $100 each per month. That is just unheard of. So if you would like to take advantage of that, I'd like you to visit this website. Click on this link. We're going to post it for you in the chat. It is www.gpatrading.com/amember/sign-up/annual 2497. Again, you're talking $100 a month for the software, $100 a month for the class, basically $200 a month for 24 months. That is 12 months. That's a deal, right? Well, guess what? Barry, if you sign up tonight, the first 50 people that sign up will receive 2 years, 24 months for one payment of $2,497. All right, so the first 50 will receive the 24 months. That now puts it for these first 50 people. I suggest you take advantage of the special because the orders are coming through. And the last time we offered this, the 50 people signed up in a blink of an eye. But during the 24 months, that brings the software and classes $100 a month. That is giving it away. And someone would say, well, why are you doing it so low? Because I want to give opportunities. I want to pay it forward. We care about our students. We take the time. We have a world-class technical support group that if you need help installing the software, downloading platforms, doing anything, we're here to help you. And we can get you set up in a matter of minutes. So it's not difficult if you're not familiar with loading the software, installing, etc. We're here to help, but there are how-to videos, everything you need. Now, for those of you that are going to that website, thank you for your order, but you can see we already have the 2 years in here. One pay, $24.97, 2-year access. This will not be here forever. It will come off to be 1 year, but for now, take advantage of it. First 50 people, $24.97, 2-year access.
Works on MetaTrader platform.
Works on MetaTrader 4. Any broker that offers it, it's the most widely used platform. So it's say, well, I trade options. Well, you can still use the signal. I have like 7 different broker accounts. I trade options, futures, ETFs, bonds. I trade it all, stocks. And I've been using that signal from our software since the beginning. And it's unbelievable how helpful the signals are, even if I place my corresponding trade in a different platform that the software is not running in. But anybody outside the United States has these options of what? These platforms like JFD that offer all 800 symbols to trade. Well, what if I'm not from the US? Well, then I could still use the software to trade these. I just place the corresponding trade in a broker of my choice. All right? Let's finish. So, we want to thank you for attending the webinar, and we look forward to you joining us. Remember, why the MPA software? We believe our software is superior to all others. Not just because we say it, we have years of experience. We have thousands of students across the world. And the reason this is so unique is because it earns its name. Market Price Anticipator software empowers you to read and anticipate price in any financial market on time, in time, all the time. If you have any questions, you could send a question to support@gpatrading.com. Just to show you, we have over 120 countries and counting, and we have students from all over the globe. What we take most pride in, we're unique. Why? Because I'm the inventor, master trader. I created the software, I trade the software, and I teach the software. So it's not like some other outfits where they'll sell something and then somebody else trains it, and maybe somebody else, a programmer, somebody does something. No, we do it all. I teach it, I trade it, and I created it. So who better to teach you every nuance of the software than yours truly? And again, 120 countries and counting. And what's important, Bob and others, is that our students have been with us for years, not just a month, a week, or 1 year. The majority of our students, the bulk majority, over say like 75%, have been with us for 5 years and counting, 6 years, etc., since day one. So if we were not successful in successfully leading traders to make money and successfully live trading the scenario to show you exactly what to do, when to do it, why to do it, how to do it, then students wouldn't keep renewing year after year after year after year after year after year after year. And now with this 2-year deal, you have no reason. What I want to pose to you is, how can you afford not to take advantage of this special? Because it only takes a couple of small trades to recoup that investment. And these that we're going to be showing you will produce that and then some. In 2 years' time, you're going to make thousands upon thousands of pips just following the cycles.
And you can learn a lot, and you don't bounce about.
And you don't bounce about. Now, and what I say years ago when I first released the software, and yes, it's evolved over the years because we have better technology, better coding, etc. Platforms are getting more optimized, etc., etc. So yes, it's evolved. But from day one, I said, you'll never need another software. It will never become obsolete. It's high tech. You'll never find anything else like it, nor will it ever become obsolete. Why? Because the time frames will always cycle. And that's what I was saying. Why does price action stair step? Because the time frames, the lower with the higher, against the higher, 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 etc. And the slingshot phenomenon. So that's why the hook and cross pattern guarantees alignment. And the slingshot engaging either up or down also confirms the time frames align. So that's why this system is unique. Not only does it work, but it automatically automates when it's aligned and you have these signs and symptoms to trade. And that's what? You rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So you'll hear me tell the students, hey, monthly down, weekly down, I want you to keep selling daily slingshots over the next several weeks. We do record the class. We record our classes every time. So if you're unable to attend, you can listen to the recording.
Anytime.
We're unique in the recording. Remember, I'm not just giving an intraday trade that's good for an hour, Doyle. I'm in there telling you, well, this trade is going to go, in 2 years' time, it's going to go way up here. And the next few days, it's going to do this. Then it's going to pull back, and then it's going to do that. So I can tell you, you could, trade, buy the dips in the uptrend, or sell the rally and buy the slingshot later, etc. And we go through painting exactly what the software is going to look like in advance, not after the fact, but before it happens, so that when you see it unfold and do exactly what we say it's going to do, you know when to get in. Simply a hook pattern, a slingshot engaging, or when to sell it, sell the slingshot. Why is GDX bouncing at the moment? Well, my daily started to turn over, but my 4-hour started to reverse, and my 1-hour bottomed in reverse. This is intraday trading. I don't know if you guys trade intraday, but you can make a killing on these things simply by aligning the time frames and buying the hooks, or selling the hooks, or buying slingshots, or selling slingshots. And again, ETFs, bonds, commodity, whatever, Forex, it's all there. So again, just to reiterate, first 50 people are going to receive 24 months. That's 2 years. For one price, one payment of $2,497. Again, you average that out, amortize it over the 24 months, you're talking $100 a month for this superior software and our live trading classes. It's almost impossible for you to join and not make money. The only way you don't make money is if you don't listen and learn. So with that, we wish happy trading, and we look forward to those that have already joined us. We look forward to you joining us next Tuesday for our Gary's Market Forecast live trading class. And as soon as you make your payments, you'll be able to download the software, the platforms, and get set up in a matter of minutes. It's that simple. So again, thank you for your time and attention. We appreciate it, but we believe you'll find a home here, as so many hundreds of students in the past have, thousands of students across 120 countries. And again, I don't think many services can say their average student, about 80+%, have been with them for 5 years or longer. That is what we're most proud of. So take care. God bless you.